Now we're recording correctly.
What an unbelievable start to episode 99. What's up, everybody? We are on our way. And what would it be if we were not starting the episode off with a New York Mets update, who are winning 6-2 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs against the Arizona Diamondbacks, looking for win, 13 of the season?
You know what that means? Win 12.
Win 12.
But you know what that means? That means it's Edwin Diaz time.
No, it's Rodriguez. Rodriguez is in the game. We are not going to lose. It's okay. In MLS news, Red Bull win again. We are recording this Sunday after all the games, I believe, finish up. Have kicked off.
Yeah,
LAFC,
LAFC,
waiting on
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati, LAFC.
Yeah.
And that's it. All right. Well, that's really good. We're not going to share any thoughts on the game or the games. That'll be I don't know when that'll be. We might not have a week 8 update because episode 100 comes out on Wednesday, and it's going to be more relaxed, kind of recapping our last 100 episodes. So I don't know if we'll do a specific weekly episode like that, but we'll see. Today it's headlines day. 2 coaches are out in MLS. We're going to talk about it, talk about our thoughts, talk about if it was too soon, not soon enough, who the replacement's going to be, what the idea is going to be. We're going to talk about the US Open Cup. We love a little bit of US Open Cup. We love when USL sides beat MLS sides that aren't our teams. We're going to talk about if that means that the USL sides are getting better, are MLS teams getting worse? Do they not care about it? What are we talking about here? And then our good friend Gyasi Zardes, Golden Boot Gyasi Zardes, has been moved to the Colorado Rapids. We'll talk about that movement, what the price was, if they got a steal, how he's going to fit in, all that good stuff there. Before we do all of that, Scarf of the Week is back. Connor, what are you rocking?
Well, I remember to scarf this week.
The Mets have won the ball game 6-2 to the moon.
Okay, to the moon. All right. I remember to scarf this week because I'm back home now. And fitting with the theme of US Open Cup, I've got a fake, a real team with a fake logo. The Chicago Fire. If only they would go back to this one. I don't know why they ever changed it. It was genuinely one of the best logos in the league.
I agree. I don't think it may complain any better, but that's okay.
No, it would not.
I am rocking, obviously a Red Bull one, but I'm rocking the Luis Robles signature one because my birthday was out on Thursday, this past Thursday, and my brother came in with probably the coolest thing I have ever gotten. So I'm going to see if I can play it.
Oh, I've seen it already.
I know you have, but the other people haven't. So listen closely.
Hey, Andrew, it's Luis Robles here, wishing you a happy 25th birthday. That sounds like you have a pretty amazing brother, Matt, who got you this awesome cameo, but more than anything, just wanted to surprise you with something different this birthday. I heard that you were a part of history as you were at Yankee Stadium when we scored a touchdown in a baseball stadium against a soccer team. It's a pretty cool day. I'm glad that you're able to be a part of it. We definitely had some fun on the field. I just want to thank you for just your many years of support, not only supporting the team, but myself. It truly was an honor to wear that jersey, to wear that badge, to represent people like yourselves, and to just be able to go onto the stadium and have some fun. We had some good times, and I hope that you have an amazing time at your birthday. Again, happy 25th. May it be full of laughter and friends and great memories. Wish you all the best. Take care, Andrew.
Now, I don't know if you could hear all of that. Did it come clear?
It was a little quiet, but yeah, you could hear it pretty
Yeah,
clear.
he was in, we'll have to do some post editing there, but he was basically in, it looked like almost a hotel room. I think he was traveling. He does a lot of work for the Qatar World Cup. So I think it looked like he was traveling, but essentially he got me a cameo from Luis Robles talking about kind of all the things that he went through and thanking me for all the support and stuff. And it was just super cool. Everybody knows, or people should know by now, Luis is my all-time favorite Red Bull. He's a lot of what he's done is what makes me the type of player and coach and captain that I ever was. So that was like the cherry on top of great. I mean, he did wish that my birthday was filled with friends and fun times, and it was more filled with work and
dogs.
night, yeah, work and puppies, but no, that's the reason we tied this in. So shout out Matt for another great one. He usually hits it on the head. LAFC have taken the lead, by the way. So as we move in,
Who scored?
Masovsky.
All
But
right.
why don't we dive into it? Connor is going to lead this. He's going to ask
Yeah.
all the questions. I'm going to answer them. It is in his control because I'm giving up some of my reign. It's still my podcast, but he gets a chance.
All right. Well, let's go in order here based on the board. Everybody loves a good board. So we'll start with the coaches out. I know we touched on it briefly in, I believe, our last episode, but Matias Almeyda is out of San Jose, and Hernan Losada is out for DC, which was a pretty surprising move. I remember us reacting to the news when it first came out. Definitely one we thought was maybe on the chopping block at some point, but probably earlier than we expected. But seeing as how we kind of touched on Almeida a little bit, I want to hear your thoughts here. When you saw the news for Losada, did you think it was too early, or did you think this was coming?
We had talked about this in our individual group chat, but it took myself and it seems like everybody by complete surprise. We talked actually funny enough, on our YouTube posting of last week's episode, we had a comment basically along the lines of right after the episode went out and then Losada got let go. Something along the lines of like that last segment didn't end well, or didn't age well, because we didn't talk about Losada being the next guy up at all. Never crossed our minds. Never in a million years did we think that was the way it was going to be. And yet he was the next one gone. In my personal opinion, and I had many Twitter conversations with a lot of our followers, it is unreal that he didn't get a chance to really get more than just one window in a few games. I know he had the window and he had a few people come in, but this feels very much like Ziggy at Seattle. Like right before Ladero came in, he was taking this team at the bottom of the standings. Then Brian Schmetzer came in and Ladero saved them. First game after Losada leaves, you've got Taxi Fontas, who comes in and lights it up. And it's like, oh, wow, look at this great team under this new manager. It's like, well, Losada didn't even get the chance, you know? I think it's absolutely too soon, especially considering that he never got a chance to work with the signings that he had, right? That was a massive signing for them, but it had to wait. It'd be like firing Bob Bradley before he gets to work with Insigne, you know? It's at that level of crazy to me, personally.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there an argument that this is the correct timing for them? Because DC was sitting bottom of the Eastern Conference when they decided to let him go.
No, I don't think so, because let's look at the other teams that are at the bottom of the standings right now, right?
Yeah, well, one of them is the team that they just recently beat. So I take it with a little bit of a grain of salt that, maybe things aren't necessarily fixed and maybe they just played a poor team, or a team in bad form, I should say. But yeah, I think the win jumped them up a few spots. They do have a game in hand as well. They've only played 7 so far, and most have played 8. So, I would expect that, if they got another win, this is how tight the Eastern Conference is right now. If DC got another win, they jump up to 4th, potentially, based on goal difference. But actually, no, they would jump up to 4th cleanly.
Yeah.
Which is wild. I mean, even Columbus, it's 3 points separating 12th and 4th. So I kind of agree with you. I don't know how you can let go of someone that quickly unless there is something else that happened behind the scenes that we obviously don't know about. Maybe there was a falling out between ownership and Losada. But when the table's this close and you're only 7 or 8 games into the season and you're not going to give him, you're not even like, I don't even know if it's not even the quarter of the season yet.
No, not even
I don't
close.
know. I don't know how you don't give him more time. I know he had last season, but I mean, he almost brought that team to the playoffs last season. And I don't think that team was a playoff team.
No, not at all. And
Yeah.
I mean, my heart just sank a little bit. I opened up the standings to take a look at kind of what other teams are there. Cincinnati's back at the bottom.
Yeah, they are.
Their trip to the moon has been rerouted.
Back down to earth.
But listen, like New England right now, right? New England is sitting joint last with Cincinnati. 8 games into the season, 7 points. Are we talking about Bruce Arena getting the can? No.
But
we talking about-
I think Bruce has earned a little bit more time. I mean, he just won the Shield.
Okay, fair. But I mean, we talk about it again, right? Like what I've read is that there were some missing gaps between the way he wanted to coach and the way that the players wanted to play. If that's the case, you have to give him the time to bring in the players who will match his system, right? That's the difference. Is and again, I always point to the taxi Fountas, right? That guy was going to be a game changer. Red Bull should have gotten him, by the way, but that's another story for another day. He was going to be a game changer for this club. He was going to be what they thought Eddie Flores was going to be. And they didn't even give him a shot to work with him. I think it's way too early. I think there were, but you know, we look back at this in 5 months and they're sitting 5th. Nobody's gonna question anything. Now, if they stay down at the bottom, you're gonna start saying, well, what are you doing? So only time will tell. It feels a little harsh. Again, I hope that whoever the new guy comes in plays Taxi Fountas at left back, plays Julian Gresso in goal, and puts DC to the floor, because that's just exactly what I want to see. But from a MLS neutral standpoint, Hernan Losada should have been giving at least to mid-season. Because here, guess what? At the end of the day, I know this is going to spark a whole bunch of other things. Guess what happens if they finish bottom of the table? You just go again next year. Right? What are you really losing?
Nothing.
Exactly.
There's no risk.
You give him, that's why Ben Olsen lasted that long, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
That and Benny Ball shall never die. But
bring him back.
Right, like I think it's unfair unless the coach, and we'll talk about Almeyda, I'm sure, in a little bit, unless the coach has been given year after year after year to prove something and he just hasn't done it. I don't think this is a fair one. You've given him a year of, you gave him like, because he was fresh into the team last year, right? That was his first game, was his first game ever. He didn't join like midway through the year before.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You gave him a year with minimal transfer funds. Let him sign a DP on a free, but who would only join like yesterday, and not even give him time to work him into a system. That's awful. 15 months. 15 months is what I'm reading here. I think it's way too early. I think it's excessive, but again, you might see in 5 months, nobody questioning anything because they'll be okay.
So, good point that you mentioned up the amount of time, because on the flip side, the other coach that just got released, Matias Almeyda, a lot would say got way too much time. So my question for you, what's the sweet spot? What's the right amount of time that you got to give a coach in order to really get a sense of if he's going to fit or not?
This kind of goes back to, okay. This goes back to the comment of how much money are you giving coaches to play with, or are you expecting to make miracles out of nothing? My judgment is based off of how much financial backing you give him. If you bring somebody in and they don't do it, and you give them zero money, and you expect them to just turn the team around with whatever investment you've made, I think it doesn't matter how long you give them. I think you're just setting them up for failure. If you're going to set a certain payroll for them, depending on where the payroll is, you need to give them at least half a year. Because, so I go back to the Ben Bayer, I think he calls it the Ben Bayer clause. You need 6 months in MLS to acclimate before you can actually play. Bradley Wright Phillips is a great example. Bradley Wright Phillips came in his first 6 months at the end of the year, scored 2 goals. He went on to score 100 plus goals after that in 5 years, 6 years, right? Everybody needs an acclimation point. So if you're going to give a guy X million dollars to make transfers or whatever, and then judge him on a game and a half of those new transfers playing, that's so out of line. So to me, I give them at least a year and a half, because it'll give you half a year of acclimation and then a proper year of playing. If it don't work, then it don't work, whatever. But that's my sweet point's a year and a half with good financial backing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think the money factor probably should play, obviously somewhat of a role, but I don't think that should be the end all be all. Because I think the way that the salary cap is structured, for the most part, things are somewhat even between teams. It's just like the designated player spot where that financial backing kind of makes the difference. But you can of course find designated players for cheaper. But yeah, I think year and a half is probably a good sweet spot. I think based on that criteria, you could say Losada didn't get enough time, and you could say that Almeyda got too much time.
So one of the things I will note, and I'm reading this article here. He was an insane fitness freak, it seems like. During his tenure,
Losada, you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
During his tenure, players had to weigh in twice a week and faced fines if they didn't meet a target weight set by the club. And Julian Gressel on Z-Soccer Pod, that wasn't German either. I can never get that.
I think you got it there.
Was that
I think
better?
That was pretty good. Yeah, no, I think that was good.
He mentioned this before, that it was pushing the limit between as much as you can give and as much as you can give until you get hurt. Like that he was on that boundary consistently. And he said that, he reaped the benefits of it, but a lot of people didn't think that was a good way to do things. So again, that's where you draw that line between, okay, the coach wants to do something, you don't have the players who fit. How much money are you going to give him to kick these guys to the curb and get the players who are going to fit? Right. And I don't think he got enough time for it.
It seems like that system of like turn these guys into the most athletic players in the entire league just doesn't work, because that's the same issue that Hines had with Atlanta, is he was just working them constant, like overworking them. Like I think there were issues with like him not giving like water breaks either. I mean, it was insane with his stuff, but it just doesn't seem like that works. That shouldn't be the system that like it doesn't seem to be like a system that coaches can implement in this league. I think you need to find a balance, because I think it's fair to say that you could overwork them and get injuries. Like I don't know if the injuries that Atlanta are going through now are a result of like still like lingering results of Hines's practice schedule or like workload that he was putting on the team.
You also have this side note, right? He lost Paul Arriola and Kevin Paredes in like the last couple weeks of the transfer window. Never got a chance to replace them. So that right there is also a massive issue, right? You have to expect that if you're going to sell things for profit, you're going to take a hit unless you've got somebody already ready to go, which they didn't. And that's not on him, that's on the club system. But
yeah, I think we can just chalk this one up to it's just not a good move, honestly. I think that's kind of both where we're landed on this one. It's just too early to have let him go. He needed some more time. I think things at points started to look like they were falling into place for them. So I think this was harsh.
I agree.
Speaking of harsh, is it harsh to say that MLS teams don't care about the US Open Cup?
We're not talking about Almeyda.
We kind of talked about him before. I don't know if you had anything else to add on him.
No, one of the things I did want to ask though is I find it very interesting that both teams delivered comeback wins in their first week without their old manager. Just gonna see. I wanted to get your take on that.
It seems like a lot of the times when a coach who's kind of, I don't want to, I guess maybe lost the locker room, when they're first relieved of their duties, it almost seems like there's like an extra sense of motivation for a lot of players that first game after.
Yep.
Maybe that's, maybe that's part of the doing for the comeback victory. Maybe it's just coincidence, but I've seen this happen in even non-MLS teams in Europe. If a guy has lost the locker room and then he gets relieved, there's like a little bit of extra motivation, especially if you're in the interim period where you don't really know like who's coming in as the new coach. Well, let me get into a good run of form. Now I can make a case for myself to be in favor with whoever comes in to be the new coach or even the interim coach. So it's almost like a fresh start for a bunch of these players who may have been struggling, because it's likely that you're not releasing a coach if you're top of the league, So I think it's partially coincidence, but I think also partially extra motivation.
Yeah, I think oh, excuse me. No, I agree, right? It's you always have that little bit of balance, right? You've got fresh start, past is gone, new system. I think a lot of them just come in and are just like, okay, go play. Don't worry about tactics, just go play. And then it goes back to being fun again, right? So I find it really interesting that stuff happens a lot. And they're just doing what they know what to do, or know how to do, excuse me. And I that is the other part of this whole, was it too early to get rid of Losada? Because there are times where, okay, now you need to make that change because that effect is probably going to happen. But how long do you want to wait, or how long can you wait until a playoff push, right? We're 8 games into the season. You could have waited longer before you get a playoff push, but you got to balance that out. So I always found that interesting. I just want to get your opinion on it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, now that you ruined my perfect transition into the US
that's right.
Open Cup.
You can cut it in editing. You can fix it.
No, I'm not going to fix it. I want them to know that you ruined my perfect transition.
I'm glad that I'm doing my job.
Anyway, US Open Cup. Is it fair to say that MLS teams don't care about it?
Yep, 100%. Next.
All right, good talk.
Listen, for a long time, you will see rotated squads, but on the flip side, you are meant to be able to beat USL sides with rotated squads, because most of those guys play on your USL sides anyway, right? I'm going to see if I can find some US Open Cup data here.
Yeah, I got a couple of the games here. So I think there were 4 MLS teams that lost their opening US Open match. So we had Austin losing to San Antonio.
Yeah.
RSL lost to Hailstorm. The Chicago Fire lost to Union Omaha, and Columbus lost to Detroit City. I was just checking this before we started the podcast, but with the exception of RSL, and I'll check them right now. Even RSL, all of these teams played majority rotated teams, just like you had mentioned. Majority of them are guys that are typically on their bench, haven't got much game time this season. So yeah, it's definitely seems like most MLS teams probably don't want to risk overplaying their guys too much or injuring them. But then, it becomes a question of should the bench guys be able to beat the USL sides? Has the USL improved enough that they should, be competing with MLS benches, or are MLS benches not up to par and are playing like down to a USL level? What do you think is more so the case?
So as I look at this, right, we can talk about the heavily rotated part of it. Austin FC started Finley, Fagundes, Druisi, and Hosen, with Cascante in the back and Kolmanich. RSL started Rubio Rubin up top, Justin Glad in the back. Apparently, like the next great Mexican goalkeeper, David Ochoa, and Tate Schmidt. Chicago had Chisos, Espinoza, Gutierrez. That's a much more rotated side than usual. Also, Chisos scored both penalties. God, that's awesome. And then Columbus, Gyasi Zardes, Matan, Aiden Morris. So that's also a majority rotated. But you can't say that there are players in there that can't just take over a game and win it on their own against the USL side.
Yeah, I mean, Gyasi Zardes, Matan should be beating USL sides. That's a given.
Now, that being said, I don't want to take any credit away from USL sides. We've got two people who have made transfers from USL Championship out to European top flight teams. The level is clearly increasing at that league level, right? You got the guy from Louisville,
Jonathan Gomez.
Yep, Jonathan Gomez, who might be playing with the men's national team or Mexican national team, by the way. So might be adding another one to the snake list. But he went from Louisville City, who's playing in the championship side of USL, the second division, straight to Real Sociedad, who are not by any stretch of the imagination a team in La Liga to sneeze at.
No, I mean, they're almost always top 10 in La Liga.
They're sixth right now with a few games to play.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had another one who got called into the men's national team, Kobe Henry from the team that won the USL championship, Orange County SC. And apologies everybody for our lack of knowledge on that. We're an MLS podcast, not a USL podcast, but I do want to dive into there anyway. But listen, you start seeing a lot more of these transfers for players either from MLS clubs down to USL side. So San Antonio had Elliot Collier from Chicago, John Dillon from Seattle, PC from Orlando, Beckford. I know that name from somewhere. Where do I know Deshane Beckford from? Oh, he's Jamaican national team. So these aren't players that are just, yeah, don't worry about it. They're whatever. I mean, they are legitimate competitors, and they're a real competition for these players. So, like I said, there are some of them that are kind of like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Union Omaha is a wow, I can't believe that happened. San Antonio over LA or over Austin doesn't actually shock me too much. Hailstorm over RSL is pretty crazy.
Yeah. The Austin one's a little surprising because if you had to pick one of those four teams for who played probably their most or their strongest 11, it would definitely be Austin. Austin rotated a little bit, but not a ton.
Yeah, 100%. But that's my point, right? Is they were able to keep up with Austin, and maybe they had a bad day. And I mean, I said Kip Keller, Andrew Tarbell, Like, it's not like these are bad players. You got Felipe Martins coming off an injury to his ACL, but John Valencia, Ethan Finley, Teresi, Fagundes, those guys are all starters. Colmanac,
Yeah.
Hector Jimenez has been playing consistently, and they subbed on Gabrielson, Pereira, Maxi Urruti, John Gallagher, Rodney Redes. So it's not like, and Santiago Patino from Orlando also on that side. Mohamed Abu from Columbus way back in the day. But it's not like these guys aren't MLS level. I mean, they're not, otherwise they'd be there. But they're not, Sunday league level. They're legit players. So this, to go back to your question, because now I'm waffling a little bit. We love a good waffle, but we do need to stay on topic a little bit. It really depends on what you're shooting for. What is your goal, right? Teams like Seattle, Red Bull, NYC, the teams that strive to be the most successful all the time, LAFC, all those big spending, big name teams will want to do well in this tournament and try and get a deeper bench to make it happen. Teams like Austin, I don't think, necessarily care too bad. Because at the end of the day, like I said, Real Salt Lake are still working on how to get their team like a consistent playoff team. Austin are in year 2. They're trying to get just some stability, right? Chicago, I mean, we talk about them all the time, right? Columbus is the one that I would be worried about the most. Antoine Hopino playing for Detroit City, and Declan Wynn. Again, another team that has some legitimate depth here. Nothing to sneeze at. But again, I would be most worried about Columbus, but it's all about what the layout is, right? Remember when you start a FIFA career and it's like you got all these objectives you need to hit. Like how badly do you need to win this cup, right? So it's not a financial gain. We've talked about that already. Winning the Open Cup gets you like an extra $150,000. Yippee! It does give you a spot in Champions League, but if you aren't a team that's competing for Champions League consistently anyway, this doesn't matter yet. You need to get your squad first to a level that'll be consistently competing for Supporter Shield, MLS Cup before you can worry about making the depth to compete for this cup too. So for these 4 teams, I thought Columbus would have been higher up on that list. But I'm not super shocked that the others kind of did a big rotation and didn't care. While you make your comment, I'm going to look up a few of the other ones because I'd be very interested to see what the lineups for the other MLS teams look like.
Yeah,
So
I was actually going to pose a question to you. So, do you think that these US Open Cup losses for these teams, I would say with the exception of Austin, have really more so shined a light on the struggles of these 3 teams, as opposed to this being like, wow, I didn't see this coming? Because I was just taking a look at their last few games. RSL has not won a game since they played Nashville in week. I'm not sure exactly what week this is, but early in the season. It was March 19th, so over a month. Chicago has gone. Let me pull it up again. Chicago has not won a game since also March 19th against SKC. And Columbus hasn't won a game since week 3 on March 12th. So 3 of these teams have not won a game in over a month. Do you think this is more so surprising that they lost, or is it more so just now shining a brighter light on these teams who are really just struggling?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think it's more exception to the rule. I mean, you got teams like San Jose that are absolutely ruining, base cities, whatever. Christian Dean, I thought you retired. Man, we're all right. Offline, we are just diving through all of these teams because there are so many former MLS players that I thought were long gone that are now playing other places. I think it's more like I said, it highlights definitely some issues, right? If you are a team that is losing to a USL 1 side, that's third division, yeah, that's an issue. That being said, I think there is enough talent in all of your MLS sides to be able to deal with something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair point. I think maybe the Columbus game is not as surprising. I think Detroit's in USL Championship, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
But RSL losing to like Hailstorm, who is a USL 1 team who's currently in 10th in USL 1 as well. Granted, they have a game in hand. That's surprising to me. Like that, to me, is where I see I think more so shining a light on RSL struggles than it just being more so surprising. I mean, RSL also just came off a really bad loss to NYC. I think it was 6-0.
Yep.
I mean, going into the season, we thought they were going to be bad. They looked bad on paper. Maybe now they're just finally showing their true colors. They just hit a good run of form at the start, and because they just have not looked good. I mean, they got the draw against Portland in Portland, which is pretty good. But I think they were home against Hailstorm too. And that's the game following up the 6-0 loss against NYC. You would think, if anything, they had to be motivated to, try to help forget about that 6-0 loss. And losing to a USL 1 team is not going to help with that. So, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's a little bit of both, but I do think that these teams are in a really bad run of form, and I think this shines a light on it more than people probably had realized.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like I said, I don't take anything away from what the USL sides are doing. I think teams like San Antonio have built good squads full of former MLS talent that are competing well. I don't take anything away from those teams, but the ones like Columbus and Chicago are a little bit more concerning to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we wrap things up with our last segment? Gyasi Zardes is gone from Columbus. He has been traded to the Colorado Rapids for $300,000 in GAM, which could go up to an additional 1.1 million in GAM.
Wow, that's how many incentives there are?
Yes, it could go up an additional 1.1, making it a total of 1.4.
Oh my God.
If he reaches multiple performance metrics, and if he re-signs with the club for 3 years following the 2022 season. That is what an article from 9 News has stated on the trade.
Wow.
We had talked about this. This doesn't come out of the blue. Zardes has been playing on the bench this season behind Miguel Berry for Columbus. Are you surprised to see the Colorado Rapids make the move for him?
No, we had actually talked about this. I think I'm not going to go look it up now, but I almost remember tweeting at MLS Gone Wild saying, how much money if you're Colorado, are you throwing at Gyasi Zardes right now? Because they were playing with nobody up top at one point. Remember Jonathan Lewis starting for them against, oh gosh, can't remember who it was. We were talking about, if you are so not deep at striker And you got this guy here who is a U.S. men's national team talent, who is on the brink of going to a World Cup, and he's not getting time, and you know he's going to push a move out. Why are you not throwing the kitchen sink at him? So I'm not shocked at all. I thought he was one of my shortlist teams. Now the price, very interesting. You're looking at $300,000 for a national team level striker when a national team winger cost you $2 million at the beginning of the season. That's a steal. No matter, I don't care what he does, right? Just having him there, having that option there, steal. The incentives, I don't know what they are, but the fact that you can give the club an option to be like, hey, I'm going to re-sign you for 2 years with an under the table handshake to say I'll sign you for another 2 after that, just to save yourself a couple $100,000. Damn, bro, are we kidding? I love MLS. Why is this not a thing like everywhere else?
I love a good under the handshake table.
Quiet down, you. A long day. Yeah, I'd be very curious to know what the performance incentives are. I wish they made that public record. That'd be really cool. But I think it's a great move for Colorado. I think they needed the depth, and honestly, now they can go 2 strikers and work a little bit of magic in there with Rubio and Zardes playing as a target and then a run behind. Put Max Alves in there to pull the strings, and Jordan Lewis and anybody else on the wings to flank him, go in that shape. And, I'm excited. I think that's a really good look personally. But
Do you think this is enough for him, or I guess not enough, but do you think this is a move that gives him a realistic shot to get to Qatar?
yes, because that striker spot's wide open. Do I think he will get there? No. But if he balls out, does he get on the plane? Why not? Right? We already talking about Brandon Vasquez after 3 good weeks saying, oh, he's playing his way to Qatar. Right? This is Gyasi Zardes who knows the system. You give him 3 good weeks in July, and now you're starting to think, oh God, Gyasi Zardes is going on a plane. If you look at the U.S. men's national team striker pool, somebody needs to make a website of just every men's national team player.
Just like a database.
Just a database. I'm sure I can find one, but I'm not going to dig into it. In 2022, America's next top striker, who will Berhalter's first choice be? What? There's not a list? I have to read words? Get out of here. Pepe, Ferreira, DK if he's healthy, Zardes. I'm taking Sargent out of the equation. I don't think he even gets anywhere close. Pifak, 26 goals in the Swiss League this year. How do you not bring him? And then you're looking at players like Tim Weah, who can play as a false 9, and we can do some fun, cool things with that. Am I missing anybody?
Not that I can think of.
Right? Those are the ones that jump off the page. Does Zardes beat any one of those guys out?
I mean,
I don't think so.
who are we asking?
Right, fair. Josie Altidore is getting ready.
He's always ready. Hey, Greg, I'm ready, just so you know.
Hey, bro, he shoots him DMs. Hey, Greg, hope you're well. Just want to let you know if you need me, I'm ready.
I'm available.
Smiley face, colon open parenthesis or close parenthesis. Listen, that number 9 race is wide open. We know that. It's a thing. I still don't. Man, if he starts playing really well, I wouldn't be shocked to see him over. It also depends on how he wants to fill the roster out and stuff. It seems like he's brought a bunch of. It seems like he's brought 3 or 4 every window. So Ferreira, Pepe, DK Pivak. If DK is not healthy, I wouldn't be surprised to see Zardes in over DK. Right. And if none of them are healthy, Chris Wondolowski's going to come out of retirement and get us to the Sweet 16 before missing from 6 yards. Oh yeah, we're bringing it back, baby. It's a World Cup year. Come on.
I can't see him getting into the team. I mean, I think if he plays out of his mind and plays super, super well, he would get a ticket, but I don't see that happening. I think even if he plays at level with Jesus Ferreira, I think Ferreira beats him out for a spot. I think Pepe's almost guaranteed a spot.
Yeah.
And Pivak's likely a spot. So I don't know if he would bring a fourth. I feel like if he was going to, it might just be someone who's in form. And I think he would do that over Zardes. Yeah, I can't see Zardes getting. I mean, this is what he needed to put himself even in the conversation. If he stayed at Columbus, he was not in the conversation, and he was 100% not making it. And
100%. Yeah.
This is his last shot at one. He's not going to be in the conversation for 2026. So,
Say never, friend.
I will say never. So,
but I agree, right? I just look him up really quick. Yeah, he's 30 now. I mean, at 34, you have to hope. You have to hope he's out.
He's not. I'm saying it now. He's not. And if he is, I'm supporting Canada.
Bro, stop. Michael Bradley's on his way back. He scored today. Michael Bradley's in.
Let's just bring back everybody from 2014. Everybody that was on the 2014 World Cup roster is playing for us again. Clint's coming out from the booth.
You don't know me, dog.
Josie's coming back. Give me Tim Howard back in goal at like 45.
Listen, I completely agree with the notion that this is a must needed, a very blah, 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 blah. A very needed move for him to get on the plane. It was something he had to do, and I think Colorado got a great deal for it. Whether it gets him on the plane or not, I don't know, but I think it's definitely something he needed to do. We'll see how he plays, but I think he is in a position where it doesn't really matter what he does. He has to determine what's going to determine his spot there is going to be what other people do. He is the fill-in for somebody who's not in form for now. Like I said, Brandon Vasquez, Tom Barlow, anybody can just jump out and play their way onto the plane. Tom Barlow, Omir Fernandez.
Zardes isn't the type to like really blow up either and make it so that he's like forced onto the plane. Like Greg cannot turn him away. Zardes is like, I mean, his best season is like around like close to 20 goals. And I don't see this being any different. So, you know, he's not putting up Vela numbers where you have to take him, otherwise you look like an idiot. He's gonna put up probably 10, somewhere between 10 and 15 goals this season. And I just don't think that's enough to get him to Qatar.
In 2022, he played 2 games in World Cup qualifiers against El Salvador and Canada. Was on the bench for Honduras, didn't get called in anywhere there. Played in the Bosnia game as well. In World Cup qualifiers in 21, he played in the Jamaica game, the Panama game, the Costa Rica game. Wasn't in the squad for anything there. He was all over the Gold Cup in 2021. Was not in the Nations League finals, but he did play in the Nations League group against Canada. So
he's been in and around for this entire period.
I think those were if I'm Greg, I think those are his trial periods. And he scored a goal against Martinique and Qatar. He scored the goal against Qatar. 0 goals against Jamaica, Panama, Costa Rica. He played 3 minutes. Bosnia, he played 28, 0 goals. El Salvador, 18 minutes, 0 goals. 69 minutes, nice. 0 goals against Canada. He hasn't scored a goal since almost a year now for the men's national team. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can.
I don't know either, honestly.
I know he will because Greg loves a bit of chaos. And I bet you Greg sits there after putting a lineup out and just refresh while like petting a cat, like
Rubbing his hands together like,
yes.
Trigger the
I set them
Eurosnobs.
off. Yes. They're not ready for my final move. Looks over to his right and Michael Bradley's just standing there smiling.
Oh my God.
Do it, boss. Tweet it.
Press the button. Send the tweet. It's just a picture of Michael Bradley's bald head.
Bro, it's a zoom. It's like it starts up here and it just pans down until you see the shine of his head. It's like coming in 2022 to a football pitch near you.
The return of Michael Bradley.
Bro, please. I want to take a week off of work just to edit that. Oh my God.
Then you could send it to him. Be like, Greg, I got you. Roster release. I'm all on it.
Dude, I'm crying. This is the funniest thing I've heard all week. Oh
And then just when you think it's over, one more slide over, Omar Gonzalez is coming
oh,
back.
dude, no. 3 of them side by side. Michael Bradley's bald head, Gyasi Zardes' stripe, and Aaron Long's faux hawk. Internet meltdown.
Oh my, the Eurosnobs would be, I don't even know what would happen to them.
We would lose millions of Twitter followers in the U.S. men's national team page because they just be like, we're done.
We're gonna be losing like 10-0 to England, but Gyasi Zardes is gonna score 1 goal and Greg's gonna go nuts.
Oh man, we need to do a whole episode of just complete meme talk.
Maybe that's episode 100.
I mean, it will turn into it with all the questions that we're gonna get.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you, spoiler alert, but I'm gonna send in a question, and it's gonna be to put together your Qatar meme roster. Full roster. I want a full roster. That's gonna be good. Did you have anything else to add, or should we wrap this thing up?
Do I have more to add? Yes. Will I waste our time doing it? Not a chance. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed episode 99, and we can't wait to share episode 100 with you next week, where we do a Q&A featuring questions from all our former interviewees, as well as some of our fans on the Twitter sphere. We have a lot of interaction, and we're going to reach out to them for some questions, and hopefully get a few of them on later on in the season. So, like I said, follow us wherever you get your podcast so you know when we go live, when we post our next video. Follow us on all forms of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, because eventually those will come back after the coaching season's over. We'll dive back into that, but make sure you're sharing with all your friends what we're doing. And we can't wait for episode 100. So thanks again, and we will see you on the next episode of the Designated Players Podcast for number 100. See ya.